Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into a brand new episode of the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. My name is Jackson Durham, and it is Black Monday in the NFL. If you're not familiar, the day where we see a number of head coaches, coordinators, and general managers get fired around the league. That has already begun today, and we've also seen some interview lists come out for teams that have already moved on from their head coach, and a lot of that has major impacts on the Kansas City Chiefs, with both of our coordinators actually popping up on the Tennessee Titans head coaching list for an interview, and one of our divisional rivals moving on from their head coach. We're going to get into all of that and how it impacts Kansas City today, but first, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, you need to stay up to date on all the Chiefs news this offseason. This is going to be one of the biggest in a long time for Kansas City. I truly feel that way, both in terms of Mahomes' recovery, a lot of the decisions that they're going to make as far as their own staff and coaching goes, and all the free agency and draft decisions. All of that's going to be covered here on the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports, so make sure you are locked in. But let's get into the news from today. Starting with the Raiders making the decision, the not surprising at all decision, might I add, to fire Pete Carroll. Carroll becomes a one-and-done after a 3-14 season in Las Vegas that resulted in them landing the first overall pick. And again, like I said, not a shock at all. We'd seen a number of reports over the last couple of weeks that Pete Carroll was on his way out of Las Vegas, that Las Vegas was looking to move in a different direction, although they are going to keep their current general manager, John Spagnuolo, who was hired alongside Pete Carroll, which in some ways that surprised me, but I do think he did a solid job with free agency acquisitions and the draft this year. They just did not succeed on the field, largely due to coaching and largely due to execution. So in some ways, bad news for Kansas City, that the Raiders might be getting better here with the new head coach that they bring in. This might be a better option for this team. But I say might be because, again, we are dealing with the Las Vegas Raiders. It is hard to say that this is 100% bad news at this point. This further unstabilizes this team, and there is a decent chance that they make a horrible decision. I know it's Tom Brady. I know it's John Spagnuolo leading the coaching search. But even the GOAT, I don't know if he can save the Raiders. They're that bad right now. Franchise is terrible. I don't think we can put it past them to make a poor decision in the coaching search that ends up in things being even worse. Their last two hires have been one-and-dones. Antonio Pierce and Pete Carroll. Another one-and-done on the way? Potentially. Absolutely worth considering. Absolutely worth considering. Let's move on, though. We'll keep you updated on that one as they go through their coaching search. When the Raiders land on a guy, when they start to circle in some candidates, we'll keep you updated on that because it'll have a big effect on the Chiefs next season, obviously one of our biggest divisional rivals, and how they progress. But let's talk about our two coordinators. Let's keep the eyes on our own house for a minute here. Both of them are on the Titans interview list. Both Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo have been requested by the Tennessee Titans for interviews for their open head coaching role. And not a huge surprise, again, with both of these guys. We'd seen Nagy's name come up in circles around the Titans job, something we've talked about on this channel before. Again, my real ones know this is why you got to be locked in if you're not already a real one. But Steve Spagnuolo is a little bit newsy with the Titans. We had talked about him in previously with connection to the Giants, where he was a defensive coordinator, actually won a Super Bowl with them a long time ago. That was more the expectation that Spagnuolo would get buzz in that coaching search. He's also getting buzz in the Titans coaching search. It seems they're both getting interviews. Let's start with Nagy. How would I feel if the Titans hired Matt Nagy? Pretty freaking good. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'd be pretty excited about the opportunity to move in a new direction on offense, to get rid of Matt Nagy without having to fire him, because to be honest with you, that is exactly what I think should happen to Matt Nagy. I'm stunned that he is in the coaching search for Tennessee, that he's one of the names coming up for the Titans right now. Of the four, which, if I didn't already list them, it's him and Spags, plus Vance Joseph, the Broncos defensive coordinator, and Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. So he's the only offensive coordinator on the list, and he had a horrible season coordinating with the Chiefs. Chiefs were bad to begin with, But the offense was a huge part of the reason why they're bad. And you got Patrick Mahomes for a vast majority of the year. So we know it's not on the quarterback. We know it comes down to execution at the other positions and coaching. Coaching was a huge part of the reason they failed. Let's talk about how bad the Chiefs offense was this year. Struggles at receiver haunted them all season long. They finished top 5 in drops, struggled to create separation consistently. I've called for Connor Embry, our current receivers coach, to go ahead and get on out of here. They actually hired that guy from a high school onto the Kansas City Chiefs staff. His experience was as a graduate assistant in college and as a high school coach, and he is now our receivers coach. Should not be any longer. Absolutely ridiculous. Top 5 in drops for our receivers. Consistent struggles to create separation on deep routes. I don't think it's a coincidence that Tyquan Thornton comes in having been coached by the Patriots and immediately becomes one of our best receivers as far as deep routes go. One of the best connections with Patrick Mahomes this season, despite really not playing much. Just unbelievable. Xavier Worthy, speaking of development, has not developed. In his first 2 years as a first-round draft pick, we have not seen positive direction movement for Xavier Worthy in his usage or in his skills. He's not moving forward. It was a solid rookie season where we saw some flashes, but we continue to see the same gadget usage. No development there. No additions to his route tree. Just poor stagnation from this offense all season long. And I know a lot of you want to blame it on Andy Reid, and I'm not trying to absolve Andy Reid of responsibility here, but a lot of responsibility has to go on the guy whose job title is offensive coordinator. That's his whole job, is to coordinate the offense. The offense was terrible this season. Why on earth any team would want to hire him to be their next head coach, I cannot imagine. Sounds like a horrible decision, if you ask me, but one that would afford us a very nice opportunity to move on, to get somebody with new ideas, to not go the retread route, to not go hire Eric Bieniemy or Mike Kafka from New York, but to find somebody who can challenge Andy Reid, who can come in and force him to try something new. And when I think about trying new things, I think about Prize Picks, the sponsor of today's episode. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And hey, I've got my lineup already put together for tonight's hoops action. I'm going with the more on Cade Cunningham's points at 28.5, as well as the more on Jalen Brunson's points, also set at 28.5, and give me the more on Karl Anthony Towns' rebounds set at 9.5. I'm going to roll with that. You guys can tell me, you can fade me on that lineup. Whatever you do, just do it at PrizePicks because they put their users first, so all withdrawals are fast and secure. They accept most major payment methods, making deposits into your account quick and easy this sports season. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Indeed, it 100% is. And speaking of right decisions, let's switch gears and talk about Steve Spagnuolo. In my opinion, a much more right decision for the Tennessee Titans than Matt Nagy would be. And it's not particularly close. And it's kind of the same in terms of how I feel about that. While moving on from Matt Nagy, while Matt Nagy getting poached by Tennessee gives me zero concern, Spags getting poached absolutely does. That's worrying at the end of the day. And I know people have their complaints about Spags, especially as it pertains to how he uses edge rushers, which I feel you on that. I 100% do. And the blitzing. Sometimes people think he blitzes too much. I've had complaints about this season. But at the end of the day, Spags is a huge part of the reason why Kansas City has built a dynasty. Why Kansas City has had the success that we've had over the last few years. And the devil that you know is often better than the devil that you don't. Spags may have his issues. Spags may have problems. But I 100% am more comfortable keeping the guy who has coordinated 3 Super Bowl winning defenses than just some random Joe Schmo off the street. And, hey, that may be a little harsh. Some of these Joe Schmoes are pretty qualified candidates. Like Jonathan Gannon just hit the market today from the Arizona Cardinals. Would be a strong pickup in a lot of ways. I think Gannon could have a ton of success anywhere he goes. But Spags would by far be my preference. Don't have to install a new system on the defensive end when we're already likely going to have to install one on offense. Because, hey, I don't know if I already said it, but I'll say it again because I'll be saying it all offseason long until it happens. Fire Matt Nagy. Even if the Titans don't want to hire him, fire him. Get rid of him. We should be going in a new direction on offense this offseason no matter what. No matter what. 100%. And you don't want to have to go in a new direction on both sides of the ball at the same time if it can be avoided. So if we're going to be able to fire Matt Nagy, or if he's going to get poached away to Tennessee, keeping Spags I'd be over the moon. If that's what the Titans decide to do, if they go with Nagy, we get to keep Spags, we get to hire a new offensive coordinator, you will see a video on this channel the next day titled Kansas City Chiefs Get the Best News of the Entire Offseason. Because that's exactly what that would be. No exaggeration. That'd be great news for Kansas City to get to move on from Matt Nagy to get to keep Spags. 100% it would be. 100%. But let's talk about Spags as a candidate for the Titans. Because while it does scare me that they would take him, that he's on their interview list, I don't think it's very realistic that they ultimately do hire him. I've talked about Spags as a head coach before, and obviously his track record of it isn't very successful, and I'm not going to beat him over the head for that in this one like I kind of did in the last one. A lot of you guys reminded me, hey, that was a long time ago, and people get new opportunities and have success in them all the time, which is very fair, very valid. There is understandable reason to go after Spags as a head coach just in general. Obviously his success in Kansas City, all the reasons I just listed why we want to keep him. But when you think about the potential fit in New York or in Tennessee, I don't think either of those would be the right destination to give Spags his second chance. Both of those teams' focus should be on their young quarterback. Jackson Dart for the Giants, Cam Ward for the Titans. And on pairing that guy with a head coach that can get the most out of them. I don't think a by-trade defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo is that guy. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be that simple for these teams. That may sound reductive to a degree, but I think at the end of the day, while Spags definitely brings a lot to the table, he isn't the best decision for your young quarterbacks, and that might supersede a lot of other things. Those guys have to be the most important thing here. They are the nexus of this franchise going forward, both of these franchises. And you got to hire around them if you truly believe that that is the case. And I think both of them do. I think both the Titans front office and the Giants front office believe strongly in their young quarterbacks and want to set them up for success and understand that doing that starts with your head coach, and Spags probably isn't the guy for either of them. That's the way I feel about it. And that's probably why Matt Nagy is on the Titans list. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but the idea that he could be a quarterback developer for Cam Ward, that he could be the guy to get the most out of Cam Ward. Obviously, he's worked successfully with Patrick Mahomes. I think that's what the Titans are looking to recreate here. And I think at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to work for you. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is a product of Matt Nagy. I think they probably know that, but they feel that his development can increase Ward's development. And maybe so, but at the end of the day, I don't think Nagy's going to be the best decision for Tennessee. But Tennessee making that decision would be the best decision for Kansas City, if that makes sense. Getting the opportunity to cleanly move on from Matt Nagy. You don't even have to fire him. He gets a new opportunity, gets to ride off into the sunset, go to Tennessee, make their lives hell. And we get the opportunity to refresh on offense, to hopefully bring somebody in that can challenge Andy Reid, that can get new ideas going, and help Patrick Mahomes whenever he is ready to go in 2026, which hopefully that's week one. Been a little while since we've heard major updates on that one, but hopefully that is week one. Again, we're going to keep you up to date on everything Kansas City Chiefs all offseason long, whether it's Patrick Mahomes injury news, Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo's interview process in both Tennessee and potentially New York down the line. We'll see where that goes. And a lot of other head coaching vacancies just came open today. Those guys are going to get their interview list together, and I would be surprised if we're not on those ones as well. So a lot of news coming this offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to remind you again, hit that subscribe button, lock in with us. We will be here all year. Let's go Kansas City.